Hi guys, Mr. B here, and today we're going to be looking at some SATs papers. So what I'm going to do is I'm running through the SATs paper, going through each question and showing you how to answer it. What I suggest you do is you download the paper from down there, print it off, and have a go at the paper yourself first. Then watch this video with your paper, run through, see if you've got the right answers. If you haven't, see where you made some mistakes and how you can correct those. Now, if any of the questions, if I have made any videos on that question that will help you out getting questions in future, if you've got more on them, I will put them up in the top corner. They'll come up so you can click on them and you can have a look if you want to. That means if you're on a question, you got it wrong or you find it a little bit harder, if you click up there, it will show you how to do them. Now, I haven't done videos on all the different types of questions you will get yet, so all the ones I have done will come up, and if I do more in future, I will add them in. Okay, let's get on with the paper. So this is the test that we're looking at today. It's the 2017 Key Stage 2 test in mathematics, and it's the first paper, which was the arithmetic test. So this is our first question, which is 40 plus 1000. Now, if you have a look at that one, you can see easily, quickly, that if we're plusing 40 onto 1000, we just put 4 in our tens column, which would give us 1040. However, if you're a bit unsure with that, you could still use column addition and have your 1000 and your 40. Only reason I would do it the first way is for time. Okay, and that would just be make sure that you're using the time, especially in these first questions that tend to be a bit easier than the ones that come later on. Okay, we can see there 0 plus 0 is 0, 0 plus 4 is 4, 0 plus nothing is 0, and 1 plus nothing is 1. So we have our answer as 1040. Now that does take longer, but if you want to double check after you've done all the answers in the paper, you could go back and have a look at that. Let's move on to the next one. Again, it's an addition, and we have 1818, and we're going to add on 707. Okay, now this one we'll do column addition with. Okay, now we have 8 plus 7, which would give us 15. Then we have 1 plus 0, which is 1, but we have a 1 that crept over from the 15, which would give us 2. Got 8 plus 7 again, which we've already worked out as 15, put our 1 up on the doorstep, and then 1 plus 1 is 2. So our answer there would be 2, 5, 2, 5. Okay. Now let's go on to our next question. Now next question again is addition, but this one looks a little bit harder because we have 4/6 plus 3/6. Now when we're adding fractions, however, it is, if we have the same denominators, which we do here, we have 6 on the bottom, it is pretty easy. All we have to do is add the numbers on the top. Okay, so we have 3 plus 4, which is 7, so that would mean we have 7/6. Now we can accept that as our answer, so we could have 7/6, but they would also accept if you change that into a mixed number, which would be 1 and 1/6. Okay, because we see how many 6s are in 7, which is 1, so there's our whole number, we have 1 whole 1, and then we would have 1 left over. 6 to 7 is 1, so we have 1/6 left over. So you could put 1 and 1/6 as well, and both answers would be accepted for that. Let's go on to the next page. So here's our next set of questions. Now the first question we've got is 505 divided by 1. Now that's a really quick one that we can get quickly because we know any number divided by its 1 is itself. So 505 divided by 1 is 1, 10 divided by 1 is 10, 11 divided by 1 is 11, and so on. Okay, so that's a nice easy one to get us started on this page. Now we move on and we've got a subtraction. Okay, again with all these questions, it depends how you want to do it. Some people might go to 3, 4, 5, okay, and they might say, right, I'm going to do 60, so I'm going to count down 6 tens and go through the 35, through the 25, and so on till they get the right answer. Other people, just to make sure, might want to do column subtraction, okay, and that would look a little something like this. We have 5 take away nothing, which is 5. Then we have 4 take away 6. We can't do it because 6 is bigger than 4. So we're going to change that to 200s rather than 3 and move one of them down there. So now we have 14 tens. So 14 take away 6 and we get the answer there to 8. And then 2 take away nothing is 2. So our answer is 285. Again, if we want to check our answer, we could add 60 on. So I'm just going to count up there. So 285, 295, 305, 315, 325, 335, 345. Count up 6 tens there. So I know my answer is right. Little things like that, double check. You might want to do that at the end of the paper. But if you can do it quickly as you're going, it will just help you out. Now we have another addition, 2.7 plus 3.014. Now there's 2 different ways you can do this. Okay, you could do it with column addition, making sure your decimal points are lined up, or you could just add these numbers here, the 2 to the 3 and the 7 to the 0, because we know we're not going to go over 10, so we're not going to need to carry any over. Okay, so what I'll show you is the 2 different ways. So we've got 2.7 and then we've got 3.014. Now you can see there, be very careful, I've lined up my decimal places. You must do that because both these numbers have different amounts of digits, sorry. Okay, so if you just put that 2.7 there, you're going to get a complete wrong answer. The decimal points line up, okay? And what I'm going to do I'm going to put some zeros in as placeholders, okay, to make this easier, okay? There's nothing there, it means we've got a 0 there after the decimal place. So 0 plus 4 is 4, 0 plus 1 is 1, 7 plus 0 is 7, and 3 plus 2 is 5. Okay, so that's my answer. Now you can see, if I'd done it the other way, what I would have done is, well, I know that the 1 and the 4 aren't going to be changed because there's no numbers there. There's the 0 plus the 7, that will give us 7 there, and then 3 plus 2 is 5. Okay, so I've got 5.714. So either way you find it easier. If you want to be sure, you can always do it that way, but make sure your decimal points line up. Let's move on to the next 3 questions. So with question 7, it's trying to confuse us a little bit by putting the answer first, but never ever let that confuse you, okay? It doesn't matter whether we've got the equal sign on this side or the equal sign on that side. What equals basically means is the same as, so it means whatever's in this box, is the same as what's in this box. So this box we have 4,500 plus 600. So whatever the answer is to that is going to be what we put in this box, okay? Don't get confused. Some people will see that on that side and think, I don't know what to do. It's still just a sum. We're just technically working this way now. Now, there's 2 ways you can do it. You could add on in 100, so you could count up 4,600, 700, 800, 5,000, 5,100, which would be our answer. Or, obviously as well, if you wanted to, maybe double check your answers after you've finished the paper. You could do 4,500 plus 600. Okay, nice easy one. 2 zeros are 0, 2 zeros are 0, 6 and 5 is 11. Put out 1 on the doorstep. 4 and 1 is 5. Okay, and remember, answers need to go in the blue box. That says that in the instructions at the start. We need to remember that. Okay, so if we just leave that answer there, technically we haven't answered the question. Okay, it needs to go in there. Now we have 8 times 33. Now there's 2 ways to do this. We could do column multiplication, which I'm going to show you here, and then I'm going to show you another way we could answer this question. As with all the questions, whichever way you find easiest is best to do. So got 33 times this, so we'll do 8 times 3 first, which is 24, our 4 on the doorstep. And 8 times 3 again, which is 24, plus our 2 is 26, so 20 and 6, 264, which is our answer. What you could also do is use your times tables facts. Sorry, I'm going to say multiplication facts. Your times tables facts. So you know that 10 times 8 is 80. So you know that if you add another 80 on, you'll have 20, and another 80 would get you to 30 times. And then you know what 3 times it is. So you could do, well, I know that 10 times 8 is 80. plus another 80 gives me 160. Sorry, I'm just doing this quickly so I'm not going in the boxes. Plus another 80. Okay. Would get me to 240, then plus my 3 times 8, which is 24, and I'll get 264. Again, whichever way you find easier. Another one here on question 9 that uses our times tables facts. If we know our 9's times tables, then we know that 72 divided by 9 is 8. Okay, we don't have to do any work now because we know that 9 times 8 is 72. So we know that 72 divided by 9 equals 8. Or 72 divided by 8 equals 9. That's because we know it's part of our facts family. If you know your times tables, okay, all the way up to 12, questions like this won't bother you. You know how many 9s are in 72. It shows you why times tables are so important. Now on question 10 we have column multiplication. So we have 167 and I'm going to times that by 4. So we're going to do firstly 4 times 7. Look, it's still only short column multiplication because we're only times it by one number. But we have 7 times 4, which is 28. Doing a doorstep, 8 down there. And then we have 4 times 6, which gives us 24, plus our 2, 25, 26. Then we have 4 times 1, which is 4, plus 2, 5, 6. So we have 6, 6, 8. That's the quickest and easiest way to do it, but you could also, because luckily it's only times 4, we could do 167 plus 167 plus 167, you can see where I'm going with this, and do that 4 different times. If you really do struggle with column multiplication and you'd rather do addition, you could do that. Obviously the numbers are going to be bigger, so it will be harder than a normal column multiplication because we've got addition, because we do have 4, but it's whatever's easiest for you. Remember, if you get the right answer, it doesn't matter how you got there as long as you got there. Next we've got a column subtraction. So we have 4,912 and we're going to take away 824. Okay. Now make sure you do a subtraction. There's lots of people do the wrong operation, either addition when they should subtraction or vice versa, or multiplication, whatever it is, because they don't pay enough attention or they're going too fast in the test. Just slow down and have a look. Now 2 take away 4 we can't do, so we're going to lend 1 from our tens column. That becomes 0 and that becomes 12. 12 take away 4 is 8. Now we've got 0 take away 2. Again, we can't do it, so we're going to lend 1 from here. This is going to become 8. And this is going to become 10. Remember, it's 10 now, not 11, because we took 1 away earlier. So it's 10, take away 2, which is 8. Then we have 8 take away 8 is 0. 4 take away nothing is 4. So we have 4,088. Now, we're going to move on to the last one on this page. Question 12, and like the one before where we had 2 fractions, we added them. It's the same, but this time we are subtracting them. It's the same in that the denominators are both 100. They are both the same. So all we have to do is the sum on the top, which is 62 take away 38. So 62 take away, I'll do it as a column subtraction, sorry. 2 take away 8, we can't do it, so that's going to become 5. Okay, that's going to be 12. 12 take away 8 is 4. And 5 take away 3 is 2. And then we get our answer as 24 over 100. Now, you can leave your answer as 24 over 100 if you want, or you can simplify it. Now, we could simplify it down and get to, let's have a look, get down to 6 25ths. Because we could divide them both by 4. There are 6 4s in 24, and if we divide that one 100 by 4, we get 25, and that would be also be the answer because these are equivalent. It means they mean the same thing. Now what I would do is I would keep this bottom one, because you don't get any extra marks for simplifying, and you could get mixed up, you could make an error when you simplify. That means the same as that, so they can't give you the wrong answer for this one. So stick with that. If you want to simplify it, yes, it is 6/25, but if you make a mistake when you're simplifying it and you got something like 7/25, if you put that in there, you get no marks, even though you've got the right mark a few steps ago. So my tip would be to stick with your sum and don't simplify it. Let's move on to the next questions. Question 13 gives us a box, our answer box up here rather than down there, and it says something, so basically like a question mark. Take away 100 is 1059. Now this is one where it hasn't given us the normal sum, and we have to work out what we need to do first. So if we look at this, we know a number, take away 100 is 1059. So if we work backwards, we know this number, add 100 on, would get us the answer in the box going that way. Now, I'm sure you can do that off the top of your heads, but just to show you with column addition there, we would do 9 plus 0 is 9, 5 plus 0 is 5, 1 and 1. So our answer would be 1, 1, 5, 9. I'm sure you could do that addition without doing the column working out there, because we just got a 1 and added onto our hundreds column. But as you can see with this one, it's easy to check our answer, because we can now do that sum, 1159, take away 100, and if we did that, we would get that answer, so we know we're right. Now, question 14, 50 plus 36 divided by 6, which is in brackets. Now this is when we have to remember our BODMAS, if you learned it that way. Sorry, a bit slow when I'm writing with the mouse here. Or some of you might know it as BIDMAS, but they basically mean the same thing. So the BODMAS means brackets over division, multiplication, addition, subtraction, and BIDMAS means brackets, indices, division, multiplication, addition, subtraction. So basically it tells us the order we should do something if we have a long sum. Now over indices, you might not have recognised what they are, looked at them, but that means if we have something like 2 squared, okay, that is an indices, that squared there, okay. It's over because it's over the top of the number. That's why we use it. So let's work our way down B. So we have to look for our brackets, okay. And yes, we do have brackets. We have 36 divided by 6. So we need to do that first, okay. So 36 divided by 6 would give us the answer of 6, because again, we know our 6 times table. We know 6 times 6 is 36. So now if we replace that bracket with our answer we've just found out of 6, because we know that that is the same as 6, we have 50 plus 6, which gives us a much easier sum to do, and we would get our answer as 56. Now, the next question is a multiplication, which looks really hard when you first look at it because it's a fraction times a fraction, but it's actually very easy. It just means we have to do 2 multiplications, because what we need to do is multiply the denominators, and then for the top we need to multiply the numerators. So we have 4 times 3 on the top, okay, and we would get 12. And then for the bottom, we would do 6 times 5, because that's what our denominators are. And we would get 30. Okay, so we've got our answer there of 12/30. Now again, you can simplify that answer if you want to. So we could simplify that down and get 2/5, because we know that 12 divided by 6 is 2 and 30 divided by 6 is 5. But again, that only means you could make more mistakes, and those 2 answers mean the same thing, so they are both right. So you'd get the mark for either one. That one takes less work to get, gives you more time with the other questions and less chance to make an error. So I would stick with that one. Let's move on to the next set of questions. Question 16 asks us what is 30 times 40. Now to do this, what I'm going to do is, because I know my times tables up to 12, I'm going to take off my zeros and do 3 times 4. That will get me an answer of 12. Okay, but obviously we know that's not the answer because that's 3 times 4. Because I've taken 2 zeros off, I need to put them back on. And then my answer would be 1,200. Next we have some division. So we need to do 581 divided by 7. So firstly, let's see how many 7s are in 5. There's none. So we move that over and we see how many 7s are in 58. Now, we know 7 times 8 is 56. And then there'll be 57, 58, 2 left over. Okay, and I'm going to cross these out so I don't get confused. So now I've got 21. How many 7s are in 21? I know there are 3 because 3 times 7 is 21. And I would have my answer as 83. Again, division is easy if you know your times tables. So we now have on question 18, 0.04 or 4 hundredths divided by 10. Now, we can do this easy because whenever we're dividing or timesing by 10, 100 and 1,000, we know there's a rule to help us out. Now, when we divide, it knows that we move the decimal place one place this way, or we move all the numbers down to one place to the right place value, whichever way you remember. I always think of the decimal place moving because I find that easier. Now, when we're dividing by 10, 100 and 1,000, all we have to look at is how many zeros we have. We've got 1 0, so we're moving it one place up. So that would mean we've now got 0.004. So I'm going to write that 0.004 because I've moved it up 1. Obviously, I need my 0 at the front there. So my answer is 0.004. Okay. Now, if you're wondering whether you move the decimal place the right way when you're doing the questions, if your number is smaller than what you started off with, when you're dividing, you've done the right thing because you know when you divide a number, you get a smaller number. If I was multiplying by 10, I would expect this number to be bigger. So if I moved it the wrong way and I got this answer, I would know. Let's move on to the next questions. Question 19 asks us 2,345 times 1,000. Again, I've said there's a rule when we times by 10, 100 and 1,000 or divided by 10, 100 and 1,000, we move the decimal place. So we know that the decimal place is here. Now when we're times by 1,000, we move it to the right, or we move everything here, place value up. Okay, now luckily we haven't got a decimal number, and when we're times by 1,000, it does mean we can just add on our zeros. Okay, so we have 3 zeros in 1,000, so we just add 3 zeros on. Now that's okay with this question, but the reason I'm telling you how we do it with moving the decimal place is because if this was a decimal number, so 2,345.1, we couldn't just add the zeros, or else we have the same number. As we can see there, we've just moved our decimal place down 3 to here, okay, because we've got 3 zeros in 1,000. So our answer is 2,345. Easiest way to remember, okay, 0, 0. Easiest way to remember, if it's a whole number, okay, it doesn't have a decimal or a fraction or anything afterwards, we can just add the 3 zeros because it's 1,000, has 3 zeros after it. Okay, now let's move on to question 20. Question 20 has us doing division again, this time with a 2-digit number, so it's asking us to divide 714 by 17. So I'm going to do this the short division method. If you've learned any other methods, that's absolutely fine as long as you get the right answer. So what I'm going to do, because it's a big number, I'm going to start adding up my 17s here. So I know obviously 17 is going to fit in a 7 because that's a 1-digit number, so I'm saying how many 17s are in 71. Okay, so it's basically like saying how many 17s are in 7? None. So move there, carry this over. How many 17s are in 71? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add up my 17. So I'm going to add another 17 onto that. So 10 and 1 and 1 is 20. 7 and 7 is 14. So I'd get 34. So I know that's 2 times 17. Okay, still a way off. So I can add another 17 on. Let's have a look. 3 add 1 is 4 and 4 add 7 is 11. So we would go to 51. So I now know that 3 times 17 is 51. Still got space, so let's add in some more. Let's add another 17. Okay, so I'm on 1 there, would be 10 would be 60, and 7 add 1 is 8. So I've got 68 now. So 4 times 17 is 68. Okay, so I know I can't add another 17 because it's very close there. So I know 1, 2, 3, 4. I know it goes in 4 times. Let's see how many I've got left over. 68, 69, 70, 71. I've got 3 left over. So now I've got to see how many 17s are in 34. Luckily, I've already done it because I was adding up there. I know that 2 times 17 is 34. So my answer is 42. Now when I put my answer in my box here, I can see down here that this answer is worth 2 marks. Now what that means is I will get 2 marks if I get the right answer. Doesn't matter how I got it, if I get the right answer, I will get 2 marks. However, if I got the wrong answer, if I'd done the right working out like this, but I'd made a mistake, say I did 34, then I put a 3 up there, I thought 3 17s went to 34, I would get 1 mark because I know how to do the working out, I've just made an error. So right mark, doesn't matter which way you do it, you get 2 marks. If you get it wrong, if you did the right working out, maybe you use another way like chunking, something like that, whichever way you've used, I prefer this way, you will get 1 mark if it's one of the ways that they accept. Okay, so one of the ways is using the long division algorithm or the short division algorithm. So now we have subtraction, but this time we have with a decimal. Okay, so a couple of ways we can do this. We've got 9 take away 3.45. We could do 9 take away 3, so we take away our whole numbers first, which will get us 6, and then we do 6 take away 0.45. Okay, and you could count back if you know to get your answer, or you could do it in the column subtraction way. So we have 9 and we're going to take away 3.45. okay, remember, make sure you get your numbers lined up right. Okay, I know that that's where they go because if that's a whole number, I have my decimal point here. So the 3 is what, 3 units? That is 9 units. They both have the same place value, so they go above each other. So we put zeros in here. Okay, so I would do 0 take away 5. I can't do it. Can't lend one and borrow any from there. So I'm going to turn that into 8. Okay, instead of putting 10 there, I'm just going to put 9 there and then 1 there. Okay, because what I could do is done 10 and then lent one off the 10, turn that into 9, but it starts to get messy. Okay, so now I've got 10 take away 5, which is 5, 9 take away 4, which is 5, and 8 take away 3, which is 5. Okay, so our answer is 5.55. Again, that way can be a little messy because we're having to lend 2 over. If you can do that with your subtraction, that's great, but you also have to line them up right. So there's 2 things we have to remember there. With this one where we've got 6 take away 0.45, we can always remember that we could do 100 take away 45. Okay, to get 5. So we would know that will become 5.55 because we know there are 100, because that's in the hundredths column, in 1. Okay, if it was just there, it's a 10, so we do 10 take away that number. Because we're in the hundredths column, it's 45 hundredths. Okay, 100 take away 45 is 0.55, so we get the same answer. A couple of different ways to do it. That one can be a little bit tricky if you're not too sure on your decimals. Now, question 22, we have long multiplication already set out for us. Again, this is 2 marks. So that means if we get the right answer, we are going to get 2 marks. If we get the wrong answer, but we've done the right type of working out, we will get 1 mark. But let's get the 2 marks, okay? So we've got 4,781 times 23. So what we've got to do is times it by 3, then times it by 20. So first thing we do is 3 times 1, which will get us 3. Then we need to do 3 times 8, which would get us 24. Then we do 3 times 7, which is 21, plus 2 is 23. Then we do 3 times 4, which is 12, plus 2 is 14. Now we move on to our next column down. I cross these out as I use them. So so I don't use them again, don't get mixed up. Now on our next column, now this time I'm not times them by 2, I'm times them by 20 because that's in the tens column. So to do that, I put my 0 there and I do 2 times 1, which is 2, 2 times 8, which is 16, 2 times 7, which is 14, plus my 1 is 15. Cross that out because I've used it. 2 times 4 is 8, plus my 1 is 9. Okay, cross that out. So, all I do now is add them together. 3 add 0 is 3. 4 add 2 is 6. 3 add 6 is 9. 4 add 5 is 9. And 1 add 9 is 10. So I would get 109,963. 2 marks for that, and if you use that method but made a mistake, you would get 1 mark for that. Question 23, we have another subtraction with fractions. However, this time we don't have the same denominators. 1 is quarters and 1 is eighth. Now, what we have to do with this is make the denominators the same. So what I'm going to do is times the top and the bottom by 2, because I know 4 times 2 is 8. So 4 times 2 is 8, which means I will get times the top by 2, and I'll get 6 eighths. Take away 3 eighths. Now that they're the same as before, all I have to do is the top sum. So 6 take away 3, which is 3, and my denominator stays the same. Again, as I mentioned at the start of the video, if I have done any videos that will help on certain things, such as adding and subtracting fractions, I will put a little link up in the top corner. Now, I have done one for this, so that will be up there now. So if you want a little bit more insight on how to do those, you can have a look up there. Right, next question is 24, and we need to do 418 times 46. So again, we've got some long multiplication. So we've already did it once, so let's do it again. So we know 6 times 8 is going to get us to 48. 6 times 1 is 6, plus our 4 is 10. And 6 times 4 is 24, plus 1 is 25. Some out. Again, we're not times them by 4 now, times by 40, so I'll put my 0 there. 4 times 8 is 32. 4 times 1 is 4, plus my 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Cross that out. And 4 times 4 is 16. Oh, sorry, I put that in that box. That should be there. See how easy it is to just get mixed up on your place value. So now we've got 8 plus 0 is 8. 0 plus 2 is 2. 5 plus 7 is 12. Carry my 1 over. 6 plus 2 is 7. 8 plus my 1 is 9. And 1 plus nothing is 1. So my answer is 19,228. Okay, again, 2 marks. So you would get 2 marks for your right answer, 1 mark if you'd done the right working out, but you had made a mistake. So question 25 is a subtraction, again, this time with 2 decimal numbers. So we have 37.8, and we're going to take away 14.671. Again, make sure you line up your place value correctly. So 37.14, we know 3 tens and 1 10, 7 units, 4 units. Okay, just line up our decimal point, and that's the hardest thing to do. Then we just put zeros in as placeholders. Okay, and we have to do our normal subtraction now. So we do 0 take 1, can't do it. So I'm going to take 1 from there. Now again, I could put 10 there and then cross it out and make it 9. It's going to start getting messy. So I'm just going to cross that out and make that 9 straight away and put my 1 down there. So now I've got 10 take away 1 is 9. 9 take away 7 is 2. 7 take away 6 is 1. 7 take away 4 is 3. And 3 take away 1 is 2. So I get 23.129. Again, a little bit harder because we're carrying that 1 over 2 zeros. Okay, remember, you can't just take that 1 and put it there straight away. 1/10 is 10 hundredths, and then we take 1 from there and move it down. Okay, so now we have a quarter plus 1/5 plus 1/10. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make all the numbers, denominators, on the bottom the same, and then I can add them up. It's a little bit like the addition I had before, but again I need to make the denominators the same, and there's 3 this time. Still do exactly the same, I just have to do it extra one time. Now, I know 5 goes into 10, so that would have been easy, but 4 doesn't go into 10, so I have to find the lowest common denominator. So I know that 10 goes into 20, 5 also goes into 20, and 4 goes into 20. So I know I have to times 10 by 2 to get 20, so it means I have to times the number on the top by 2, so I get 2 20ths. It's been quite nice to us with the number there, the numerators on the top there. 5, I know I have to times that by 4 to get 20, so it means that I'll have 1 times 4. Remember, when you're multiplying bottom on top of a fraction, whatever you do at the bottom, you have to do at the top for it to work the same. So 4, I know I need to times it by 5 to get there. Okay, now all my denominators are the same, so all I have to do is the sum on the top, which is 5 plus 4 plus 2. 5 plus 4 is 9, plus another 2 is 11, and we have 20 on the bottom. Okay, so just make the denominators the same, and then do the simple sum on the top. Next we have 4/5 divided by 4. Now there's 2 ways that you can do this. If I looked at that, I know if I've got 4/5 and I was dividing them by 4 people, every person would get 1/5 because I have 4 of them. Although I know that's because I've been doing this for a long time. Some of you might notice that. But remember, when we are dividing a fraction by a whole number, all we have to do is times the denominator, which in this case is 5ths, by the whole number we are dividing by. So I'm dividing by 4 there, so I'm going to do 5 times 4, which would get me 20. The top number stays the same, lucky for us. So our answer is 4/20. Again, you can simplify that down, and we know that would go into 1/5 because of what I've told you at the start there. Okay, because 5 divided 20 by 5 to get 4, 20 by 4 to get 5, and 4 by 4 to get 1. But I would leave that, if you did it that way, as 4/20, because you will still get the right mark, and it's just missing a step out, which means there's no chance of us making any more errors. If you made an error already, you're still going to get the wrong answer, so you may as well just stick with that answer and minimize the chance of you getting mixed up anywhere. So that's the answer 27, 4/20. Question 28, we have to do the same as we did the previous question. We have a fraction and we're dividing by a whole number. So remember, we just have to times our denominator, our bottom number, by the whole number. So 8 times 2 is 16, and our top number stays the same. So we've got 5/16. Okay, now we're moving on to a percentage on question 29, and we have to find 45% of 460. Now there's a number of different ways you can do this, as is with lots of percentage questions. I'm going to do it the way I would do it, and then I'll tell you the other ways that you could do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to half this 460 to find 50%. So halving that would get me 230. Because I'm halving my 60, which is 30, and I'm halving my 400, which is 200. So I know that 230 is 50%. Now, I only need to find 45%, so I need to take 5% off this. So to find 5%, what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide 460 by 10 and get 46, because I'm just moving my decimal place 1 up, or taking my 0 off, and I know that 10% is 46. So if I know 5%, I know that 5 is half of 10, so I'm going to half my 10% to get 5%, which will get me 23. So now I know 50%, 230, and 5%, 23. So if I want to find 45%, I do 50%, take away my 23. So 230, take away 23. Okay, so lend 1 to 10 to make that 7. 2 and 2 is 0. 2, 2, nothing is there. Okay, so my answer is 207. Be very careful. 45% of 460 is 207. It is not 207%. You don't need the percent sign there. We are saying that 45% of this number is that number. Okay, 207% would be something completely different. So that's how I would do it. But there are lots of different ways you could do it. To find any percentage, what you could do is you could divide that by 100. So you get 4.6. Then times that by 45. Because 1% times 45 will get us there. Or you could find your 10%, 46, and then keep adding on. So 46, add another 46 would be 20%, add another 46 would be 30%, add another 36 would be 40%, and then work out your 5% and add it on. Whichever way you want to do it is fine, as long as you get that answer of 207. With percentages, there's lots of ways to do it. Now, I've got a sum where I have mixed number, 2 1/3, and a fraction, and I'm adding them together. Now, first thing I'm going to do for question 30 is I'm going to move my whole number to the side, and I'm just going to focus on 1/3 plus 5/6. Okay, so I've got 2 1/3 plus 5/6. So I'm going to move my 2 to the side, and once I've worked out this, I'll put it back on. Okay, so I've got 1/3 plus 5/6. We did some sums like this earlier on, and to make this denominator the same. So I know 3 times 2 is 6 to make the denominator the same, which means I have to times the top by 2. 1 times 2 is 2. Okay, number is the same, which means I have now got 7/6. Okay, now what you have to remember is this, is I now have an improper fraction. I have 7/6, so I can't say my answer is 2 7/6, because you need to express your answer as a mixed number or an improper fraction, not both. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this 7/6, because I'm looking at it, I can see it'd be quite easy, into an improper number and add my 2 back on. So I need to find how many 6s are in 7, which I know is 1, and then I'm going to have 1 left over. So I know 7/6 is the same as 1 and a 6th. If you're not sure how I did that, brush up on mixed numbers and proper fractions and how to swap between them. So now I have my 1 and a 6th, which is this sum. Okay, but I also have my 2 that I had from earlier, so I'll add that back on, and I'll get my answer of 3 1/6. Okay, obviously if I left that, I could have went the other way, and I could have expressed that as an improper fraction, and that would have been the same, but obviously the answers would have meant exactly the same. That would have been 19/6. But I can't do mixed numbers and improper fractions. Remember that. You can't have 2 7/6. It must be a mixed number or an improper fraction. We've got another percentage question here on 31, and it's asking us to find 7% of 500. Now, the way I'm going to do this one is I'm going to find 1% and times it by 7, because I know finding my 1%, what I do is 500. I know percent, there's 100 in the whole, so if I divide it by 100, I will get 1%, which would be 5. Okay, move my decimal place 2 places down, 1, 2, 5.00, 5. Okay, so 1% is 5. Okay, now I need to times that by 7, because I don't want 1%, I want 7%. So 5 times 7 is 35, and there's my answer. Again, remember, do not put 35%, it is 35. Now let's look at 2/6, take away 1/8. Denominators are not the same this time. I can't just times this number, 6, the denominator, by a number to get 8. Okay, so what I have to find is a number that's in both these tables. I know that 8 times 3 is 24. Okay, so if I've times my bottom number by 3, times my top number by 3. Okay, and I know 6 times 4 is, I'm going to put it down here just so I can fit my fraction in, is 24, which means I need to times my top number by 4 as well. 2 times 4 is 8. So now I've got 3 24ths plus 8 24ths. So my answer would be, oh sorry, see how easy it is there to get distracted. I have a takeaway, not an addition. Okay, fell into my own trap that I told you not to earlier. Okay, so we've got 8 24ths, take away 3 24ths, which would get us 5 24ths. That's why it's always best to double check your answers as and when you are going through as well. Okay, so on that one I need to find a common denominator, so a number that's in the 6 times table and the 8 times table, which was 24 for me, and then do the right multiplication. So I just have to do 8 take away 3, which is an easy sum. Question 33 asks us to times 0.9 by 200. Now what I'm going to do is show you my way, but there are other ways to do it. What I would do is I would do 0.9 and I would times that by 100, because I know I can times by 10, 100, 1000 and divide by it easy. And what I can do there is I can either move my decimal place down 2 places to the right, or I can move my place value up 2 places to the right, which would mean I would get 90. 1, 2. So my tenths goes into tens. Okay, tenths, units, tens. So now I've got 90. Okay, I don't have to put 90.0. A lot of people put that, but obviously if it's after the decimal point, if it's 0, we don't need to put it. So I've got 90. So I've got 0.9 times 200. Now what I need to do is, because I need 200, I need to times that by 2 to get 200. Okay, and that would give me 180. And that would be my answer. So 0.9 times 100. So I know that 0.9 times 100 is 90, and I double that to 180 times by 2, because I'm looking for 200, not 100. Now let's move on to the question 34, which is 15% times 1000. Now some of you might look at that and know it instantly. You might say, well, I know that 15% of 100 is 15, therefore 15% of 1000, because it's 10 times bigger, would be 150. Some of you will know that, some of you will see it, some of you won't, and that's okay, because we can still use our way to find percentages in order to find the answer to this. We can do 1000 and divide that by 10 to get 10%, and that will be 100. So I now know that 10% of 1000 is 100, and what I would do is, if that's 10%, if I half it, I would get 50, so that must be 5%. So I've got 10% and 5%. If I add those two together, I know my answer is 150. We have question 35, which asks us to do 1.5 times 57. Okay, again, a mixed number times a whole number looks hard, but what we're going to do is separate it out. So what it's asking us to do is do 1 times 57 and a half times 57. Now, top one is easy. We know 1 times any number is itself, so 1 times 57 is 57. Now, what we have to do is find half times 57. In other words, we need to find half of 57. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to half my 10, so half of 50, I know is 25. And then I'm going to half my 7s, which would be half of 7 is 3.5. So I know half of 57 is 28.5. So I've got my two answers. 57 times 1 is 57, and 57 times a half is 28.5. So what I'll do is I'll add those two numbers together and we'll get our answer. So 57 add 28.5, and that will get us our answer of 85.5. Obviously, if you wanted to, you could do column addition for your 57 plus 28. Up to you how you add those two numbers together, but you can do 57 plus 28, then add your half on at the end. So 85.5 for our second from last question. On to our last question. So now we have a division, but we have it with big numbers. We have 2,242 divided by 59. Okay, some quite big numbers here. So what we're going to do is we are going to see how many 59s, obviously none in 2, so we go to 2 number, how many 59s in 22, none, don't fit, so again we have to go over. So our first one is find out how many 59s are in 224. Now this already is a bit difficult. Now obviously if you manage to go through the rest of your test quite quick, you might have a lot of time at this question, you might not have so much time. Remember, this is the last question. This is one of the hardest questions, so don't worry and just take your time on it. So what we're going to do is we're going to basically start the 59 times table here. So we know 59, and I'm going to plus another 59 on and get 118. Okay, 2 50s are 100, 2 9s are 18. Okay, so 2 times 118, so we can still go on. So 3 times is going to be 177. Add another 59 on. Okay, add 50 on and 168, then add my 9 on. So I'm adding 50 and 9 each time. Or you could add 60, then take away 1. It's up to you how you do it. Okay, whatever you find easy. Still can keep going. So I'm going to go with my next one. 4 is 236. Okay, add 50 on, then add my 9, or add 60 and take away 1. Again, whatever. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So as I can see, 236, I've went over 224. So I know I can fit 1, 2, 3 in. And we'll put your 3 above the last one you're doing there. I need to find how many I have left over. So obviously I can count on. So I'm going from 177 up to 224. So if I go get another 3, I get to 180. And then another 20. So I've got 23 would get me to 200. And from 200 to 224 is 24. So 24 plus 23, I've got 47 left over. So you know I'm doing the short division method. You might do another method, that's fine. Again, it's 2 marks. So if you don't think you've got enough time or anything like that, do your working out. You might get 1 mark, even if you get a wrong answer or get mixed up. I've got 47 left over. You might do it where you work out underneath how much you've got left, okay? So I've got 472, and I need to find out how many 59s are in 472. Now, luckily, I've already got a 4, so I don't have to start again. I can keep going. So if I add another 59 on, I would get to 295. I can keep going. So if I add another one on, I would get on to 354. Still got a ways to go, so I can keep going. So I'd go up again, 413. Again, adding 60 to take away 1, adding 50, then adding 9, whichever you find easier. And then add 59 on. Yeah, 472. So it fits perfectly in there, no remainders or anything. So let's have a look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So my answer is 38. Okay. Obviously that one a lot harder because we don't know our 59 times tables, but we can work it out just with, remember, your times tables is repeated addition. So if that was 43, I just keep adding 43 on and find out how many. The method's still the way, it just takes a little bit longer. And again, with a question like that, that's one of the first ones I'd be double checking to make sure I did all my working out here correctly. If I get a different answer, I'm going to try it again and see which one I get the next time. Okay, so that is the test completed all the way through to question 36. Hope you found that video useful, guys, and if you have, please give it a thumbs up. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. You'll get notifications of any videos that I put up as and when I do. Please share it if you know anyone that will benefit from this and find it useful. And if you've got any questions or anything, comment or use the Twitter or the Facebook page. Till next time, see you later.